Hello everyone and welcome. This is Katie Sutcliffe at Sumo Logic. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll now be starting our first ever EMEA-wide virtual user group. I'd like to introduce you to our host for today, Iain Chidgey.
Hi Katie, thanks. I would put the video on, but it's not working. I'm not sure if video is enabled for this session. Otherwise, I can just talk to the slides. That's okay. Welcome everybody. Welcome to those just joining us, and welcome to those that have been on the Cert Jam today. Hopefully today's session was useful, insightful, and you learned a lot. My name is Iain Chidgey. I'm the GM and VP for EMEA, and I'm pleased to be your host for today. Can we go to the next slide, please? Great, thanks, Katie. So we have a great lineup of speakers today. Oh, I see Colin, you're on video. Let me try. See a video. No, I can't get video, so it's not working for me. Apologies for that. So great lineup of speakers today. I'd like to thank in advance, particular thanks to our customers. This is a user group after all, so thank you to Pascal and Andy and Markus and Michael for participating and agreeing to present today. We'll give introductions to each of you later on, but I'd just like to shout out to you guys for spending the time not only to come along to the meeting today, but also take the time to build a presentation. There's a lot of thought that goes into it, so thank you for that. Also, we have Bruno Kurtic, who heads our product management and strategy. Bruno will be joining us later on to give a roadmap overview. And as this is our first virtual user group, that gives us some advantages, and we're not constricted by travel. So we have the opportunity to have our President and CEO, Ramin Sayar, join us to say a few words. Next slide, please. Here's a running order for today. We are on a tight time scale, and we've got a lot of great content to get through. So I appreciate if everybody can stay on track. We will be having questions and answers. There is the facility in the chat room for people to post questions. I think you can raise your hand. We will then record all of those questions, and then at the end we have a Q&A session, and we'll open it up to answer those questions. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we do Cert Jams and when we hold user conferences, Sumo likes to give back as well. And so during these unusual times, we are and have decided to work with the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. We're all aware of the great work that the WHO is doing to understand and help coordinate the response of this global pandemic. And they do rely heavily on not only contributions from member states, but from private donors as well, and private contributions. So we'll be making a donation to the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. So with that, we'll move into our content for the day. I'd like to start by introducing our first speaker, our CEO, President and CEO, Ramin Sayar. A little background I have to say on Ramin though, before Ramin starts to talk. He is an avid Arsenal fan. So for those of you that have allegiances to North London, you have more than Sumo in common. So Ramin, over to you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and we sincerely appreciate the time and investment all of you made to join us today for the Cert Jam. Hopefully it was valuable for you. Obviously, we strive for constantly learning and improving as part of our continuous intelligence philosophy internally. So your feedback is important in terms of what we can improve for the experience going forward. I guess I'd start off, besides thanking you for your participation and support, by also acknowledging fundamentally we're in an uncertain time, an uncertain world. And while it's a great pleasure to be able to support things like COVID, it's an unbelievable situation that we're all in together. And during these times of difficult, pandemic, let alone other socioeconomic, political issues that have taken place across the nation in the US and other countries, because of, unfortunately, the deep-rooted sentimentism and racism and inequality, while on one hand it's very difficult to see and be a part of, on the other hand, it gives me hope. It gives me hope that not only will we come together and be more unified, but also we can hopefully work together cross-culture, cross-nation, cross companies in a lot of cases as well, to really address some of these concerns and ongoing issues. And as I look at the political and economic and social issues that are going on, there's a kin or a parallel analogy to the technology challenges that are also going on during this time and have been going on even prior to this time. And that is the need for all of us to evolve to a new model of operating in this new era. For us fundamentally, as we look at the Sumo business, we are constantly trying to pay attention to the strengths and opportunities and areas that we can constantly improve, and not only our EMEA business, but also our global business. And it starts with understanding where customers are in their journeys towards cloud, digital transformation, obviously towards how they look at building and managing, securing modern digital services and applications associated with that. And so that's an area that Sumo, fortunately, has been very strong in for well over now a decade. We've been maniacally focused on how do we provide the best, not only log management and analytics capabilities for machine data, but how do we provide more broadly holistic observability and security intelligence solutions to complement that and really address the passion that we have to bring together and break down the silos that exist across development organizations, operations teams, security teams, lines of business, and more. So as I look at our business as a result, yes, we've seen definitely some impact with COVID and the crisis right now. And we're doing our darndest to make sure that we're there and helping not only our existing customers, but giving back. And giving back because we know educational institutions, media institutions, hospitality, travel, and more are deeply impacted. And so we've done a series of things to provide our service for free, and also more content and, in a lot of cases, more support to a lot of these customers in certain verticals that are having struggles during these times, but have the same need to effectively advance during what we refer to as the intelligence economy or era. So more broadly, I would say, you are part of this journey. And we're thrilled and delighted that you're here today, not only the user group, but you're helping support not only the strategy and the technology that Sumo is providing, but the impact that we're trying to drive in the industry to help customers like you, but also our peers who are struggling during this time. So as it pertains to our commitment to EMEA, for my entire duration here at Sumo, 5.5 years, I'm never more proud and privileged to be able to work with leaders like Iain. I think what he brings to bear for us is not only years of experience and maturity, strategy, but culturally, he's able to really fit well with Sumo and give back to the team, give back to the community, and really help further grow and develop our team, and more importantly, our community there. And so a lot of the efforts that we've been focused on prior to even Iain joining, but more specifically, concentrating that effort and focus since he has joined and brought in some new leadership, is to further build out our ecosystem and partnerships with the likes of Westcon, AWS, Computer Center, and so many more on not just the service side, but ISV side, CrowdStrike, and things that we're trying to do with Palo Alto Networks, with VMware and others globally to really help leverage what investments that you have already made or many of our customers have made for their on-prem infrastructure and migration to cloud. And so it's a combination of ISV and SI and service provider relationships and reseller relationships to provide the best experience for you. So our commitment to EMEA is not only bringing in leaders, providing the best experience and support, things like virtual cabs and the like, but also making sure that we're there to support and sponsor the technology providers that you've also previously and currently support, and directionally going forward want us to make sure we support as well. So how does this all tie together? Well, as I mentioned, we believe that we live in an intelligence economy, and fundamentally organizations can succeed or fail based on how well they understand and can able to respond to what's happening inside their business. Particularly now when everyone's distributed, working from home, we don't have that constant day-to-day interaction with each other. We need to make sure we provide the referred and recommended and required set of capabilities to help businesses thrive during this time. And that fundamentally is what we're trying to address for well over 10 years, which is something we refer to as closing or solving the intelligence gap. By providing a solution that provides real-time continuous intelligence that effectively helps not only collect all this data, but more importantly, provide the collaboration capabilities that you and your peers need across your organizations to communicate and help solve mission critical business issues or process issues. I believe that one of our passions here at Sumo is that we're in it with our customers, right? It's not just what I believe, it's what all Sumos believe. And similar to you, what we strive for every day is constant learning. And so one of the core pillars of our culture is not only living it with our customers or being with it with our customers, but more importantly, striving for what we can do better. And so as we look at our customers, we look at what you guys are doing, we believe that these 5 fundamental pillars that you're addressing or trying to address around modern application architectures, multi-cloud adoption, continuously evolving and improving your security threat posture and risk, finding ways to collaborate in more efficient ways to drive down cost, and ultimately be a data-driven organization. Sumo Logic is a great partner for you. And hopefully you believe and see that, and we truly believe that you're a great partner for us. So this is more than just us trying to create a category around continuous intelligence. This is more centered around our need and, more importantly, focus on developing this community around continuous intelligence and thriving and learning from each other. So there's a lot of things that you'll hear about today from other speakers, particularly Bruno, around our roadmap, but it's not just a technology area and focus. Yes, we're doing a lot to help improve the way that you can leverage our platform in terms of new packaging, new licensing, new capabilities for not only monitoring and troubleshooting, but tracing, distributed tracing for applications, things around modern ways for automating the SOC with the addition of JASK, and more importantly, the Cloud SIEM Enterprise. But ultimately, it's also around how we build more analytics, therefore providing more intelligence for you to be able to do more with less, but also break down those silos and collaborate more effectively. So part of the reason why you're here is to collaborate, not just learn. So my ask of you, beyond the time that you're investing here to get certified, is learn from each other. These events are put on to collaborate and build the network. So we hope that you take advantage of that. We hope that this is the start of not just the first, but many more virtual and in person and face-to-face types of communities and cert jams, so that we can thrive together during not only this uncertain time, but also when things return to a more normalized business environment for all of us. So with that, I want to appreciate and thank the team for having me, and I'll turn it back over to you, Iain.
Thanks, Ramin. Really appreciate taking the time to come out and speak to us today. As you mentioned, it's about the customers, and so this is the user group, and so really look forward to expanding our relationship with all of you online here today and growing the community. I know I've met a lot of you already and look forward to reaching out and meeting a lot more of you during the coming days and months, and also expanding the community and getting more and more customers, not only along to the user group, but also extending the network for you as well, and understanding how people can learn from using Sumo and how they're benefiting from that. with that, that's what we're going to find out more about today with our customers that are participating and speaking. So without further ado, let's move into our first presentation from our first customer. So Pascal Lauener, who's DevOps Senior Project Lead from Roche. Again, thank you, Pascal, for joining us today, and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you for the invitation. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Perfectly. So my name is Pascal, coming from Roche, based in Switzerland. Next slide, please. So Roche is quite big. First, where we are or who we are. We are a software department inside Roche. We have several locations, more or less all over the world. And what we do in simple words, if you see this picture on the right side, this is how a bigger laboratory looks like. So if you go to a doctor and if they take your blood and do some measurements, if you're sick or not, then this is done on these instruments. And we develop part of the software of these instruments. And also, I mean, we are also going to the new world. We also have some solutions in the cloud, which should also then help to the customers and the patients to have a better experience, maybe faster results from the measurements of the instruments in the laboratory. Next slide, please. The case I would like to show you today is from this dev teams, from the developer teams. And I will first give a short intro where we are and how our developer team, how they work. First, in a really simplified view, so we have on the left side a developer. He is responsible for writing codes. Of course, there are also requirements engineers around and business around which define scope, which, to have it a little bit more simpler, they are excluded, not that they are not important. Developers, they write the code, they write tests for this code, and several times during the day, they push this code to a central code repository. For the non-techies, this is like a SharePoint. So we store the code there in several versions. And then, if you have the code, this is not what we can execute. To make an executable file out of this code, we have our called pipelines. This is like a process who is taking this code, is building the code, is running some tests, making some other stuff around, and generates then an executable program, which at the end will run on one or multiple instruments. Next slide, please. So now to reality. I mean, we have, of course, not only one developer. We have a lot of developers spread all over the world, working in this also means then we have a lot of these code repositories. We talk here about several hundreds, which contains several branches. A branch is like equals to a version. And we have over 5 million active lines of code, which is, I would say, quite a big number. And then now to handle all this code, we have multiple pipelines. So each project has minimum one release pipeline, but also for the daily tests, there are smaller pipelines which runs many times during the day. So if the developers check in the code, then also some small pipelines will run. And here we start with some years back with a small number of VMs. This is now growing. So we have several configuration. This is like we have Linux machines, we have Windows machines, we have Java, we have .NET Core, which we call a configuration. We have several configuration on several VMs, which we had the problem that we had to have a little bit an insight here. So from knowing how these VMs are used, also how to know how many of the configurations we need. Next slide, please. And this is what we now talk about. So we had the need to have a solution that we can monitor these virtual machines with these pipelines. Next slide, please. So this is now another view. So we have the virtual machine, which the pipelines run on it, and we have some called build queues. That means if a project has the need to trigger a pipeline, this is then going to a queue. So if there are 3 people waiting for a pipeline, this is then queued. And we had to monitor this queue. So we have to know how many users are waiting. For that, we have a polling mechanism, which sends the queue data to a host collector on Sumo Logic. Then also for the pipeline, I mean, each pipeline, best case, they're always green and successfully. Also not always the case. So we also report the results of each pipeline also to a hosted collector on Sumo Logic. And then the base with a hosted collector, with Sumo Logic collector, we measured also CPU, RAM, and disk. And then with this data, we can do alerting. We use Slack and email to notify the developers. What is missing here? We also have bots which trigger then some action based on the Sumo Logic data. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So with the know-how of how many pipelines are waiting in the queue, we can define how many machines on one configuration are needed. I mean, if there's only one machine for one configuration, maybe the project has to wait or the customers has to wait. If we have too much, we waste our virtual environments. For the pipeline runs, with the knowledge of the result of a pipeline, we know how healthy our pipelines are in detail. And also with the results, we can also figure out, do we have some issues on the environment or on a virtual machine? And then of course, I mean, if we have a full disk, then also the pipeline cannot run. So also this is important. And the CPU memory we use to define how big the machines should be. So I mean that we have a little bit an ID. Do we need 8 CPU or 4 CPUs? Next slide, please. So, and now to give the answer why Sumo Logic. I mean, we did this journey. We started this journey around 4 months back. We started first with an on-premise solution with ELK, which was nice. But I mean, yeah, if you have to have something on-premise, you have to maintain, you have to monitor, and you have to take care. Then I got to know that some other projects in Roche were already using Sumo Logic. It was then my first contact point with a complete new solution. And I was really surprised about how easy this was. I mean, to give you a number, this measurement of this AT build agent with a full monitoring, with also steering some bots, we did within, I guess, around 3 months. So from the first touch of Sumo Logic until a ready-to-use solution. And also, because we have really Linux and Windows environment, I really like the easy way to install the bots or the collectors in a fully automated way on Linux and on Windows. So this is really easy because it's scriptable. Then also for our users, the query language, I mean, compared with others, also for a non-techie, it's quite easy to get some data out of some million lines of logged information. Then for this monitoring of the queues and the pipelines, there we use a real-time monitoring. So for example, if something is wrong on an agent, we get a real-time notification and we do an automatically restart of this machine. So this is in the past was taking minutes or even hours, depending on how fast they called us, the developers, and now it's fully automated. So personal comment here, I was surprised about how easy this was. And what I personally also like is the support can be direct contact to the guys here also in the group, or also over tools like Slack. That was always easy to get support and to reach the people. With this, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pascal. It was an interesting case study for me, particularly. I'm always interested in hooking the value of a capability that we might sell as a vendor, how that actually translates into either solving a real business problem. And what I heard from your presentation there was you're developing code for machines, scanning machines, for example, that out in hospitals, and that code would allow people to get results quicker, which clearly has an impact on health. But we can see that by monitoring the state of your pipelines, allowing you to develop that code quicker, get that code out, then there's no bottlenecks there, and potentially no downtime on those machines, or the code is developed correctly, and clearly there's more uptime, which actually has an impact on patient health. Now, that's maybe a path to draw some dots there from patient health right the way back to Sumo Logic, but I kind of picked that out from your presentation, so it's very useful for me to hear that. Thank you very much. So we move to our next speaker now, Andy Meekins. Andy Meekins is head of DevSecOps at Snoop. Snoop are a fintech organization that are harnessing the power of open banking. Andy.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Can you see me is the question. I did try and turn video on. Hopefully someone can see me.
I can see you, Andy.
Hopefully my head's in the picture.
Good to see you again.
And you. Yeah, first a little bit about me. I joined Snoop in June 2019. We are a fintech startup, as is said. We haven't launched that long ago. My background is 30 years experience in IT. I've used various products along those years. I've been working for various companies, including about 15 years as a contract consultant as well. Various roles as engineer, DevOps, DevSecOps, sysadmin, DBA, you name it. I've pretty much done it over the years. Next slide, please. So, who are we? What is Snoop? A key driver here is to put customers in control of their data and to help them make them better off. So we're here to help our customers save money. Okay, we're a fintech startup. We're based in Norwich and London in the UK. We've been founded in April 2019. We publicly launched in April 2020, so not that long ago. And at current rates, we've got about 25,000 customers, or very nearly. So obviously we pretty much built everything and launched in a year. And obviously to do that, you need some really good tools that make it easier, like Sumo Logic. Our key driver here is we are using open banking technology to take customer transactions from their bank account or credit card, analyze them, and give them not just money management, but insights into how we can save them money. Okay, so we're trying to make them spend smarter. We're trying to tell them about what's coming out of their account each week or each day or each month or each morning, balance pushes and things like that. We're also then tailoring hyper-centralized and personalized Snoops based on what they've spent money on how they can save money. Yeah, things like if your insurance is due, we'll tell you and give you a heads up, and also give you some offers to try and help you make a choice. It's a free app, and we are constantly striving to build new features. Next slide, please. Let's talk architecture, because that's what I love. How have we built the platform, and how does Sumo Logic help us do that? We'll talk about the platform itself and the architecture first. We are full in on AWS. We are public cloud, AWS, and SaaS partners. The whole business is built on that. Various reasons for that. AWS, mainly we've used it before. We like what they're doing. We like the features, and it fitted what we wanted to do. Our tech stack is, as you can see from the screen, it's very modern, and I appreciate some of you will have on-premise legacy systems. You'll have brand new on-premise stuff, and you'll migrate into cloud, or you're using cloud for the first time. We've had a blank piece of paper. It's very easy as a tech startup to really just drive that innovation when the paper's blank and you haven't got legacy to deal with. So yeah, very much tech stack that's very modern, very much a serverless tech stack. We are trying not to have EC2 instances. We don't want to spend too much time patching servers. We want to build customer features with our time and deliver directly to the customer. We obviously need to be secure. I like to say we're doing enterprise security on a startup budget. So we're building enterprise features. My background's in banking. So enterprise features, we're FCA regulated. We have a lot of things we need to do for that regulation, but we haven't got as much regulation as a bank. So from that point of view, architecture drivers wise, as I say, serverless, secure, has to scale, real time, has to handle feature-based delivery with Agile and DevOps, has to be low cost. We have to deliver everything in code. We're a very small tech team. Originally when we started, there was mostly 4 or 5 of us. Now totally, Snoop has got 24 people. We've hired quite a few during the lockdown for coronavirus. Next slide, please. Right, how does Sumo Logic help us? So initially when I started building this back in June 2019, I was the only one doing AWS. Couple of guys doing back-end service delivery and services, and ECS and Docker. So the key thing there was, right, how do we build this very quickly? How do we build it securely? And how do we get visibility? And that's where I think Sumo helps us the most. We can see what's going on. We can look at things in real time. It helps us monitor, helps us look at how we're delivering features. Have we built a feature right? Is it secure? Is it to our standards? Is it not working? We can easily find that in all environments very quickly from dev through to prod. We can instantly see visibility and observability across the whole stack in all environments in the cloud and our SaaS partners. If you can't see it, you can't fix it. Things are moving. We use a lot of Lambda. We use a lot of auto scaling. Things are starting, stopping in seconds. We have to see what's going on, and that's where we use Sumo Logic a lot. So we use it for all monitoring and logging. It's our go-to platform. We use a lot of unified logging and metrics dashboards. We use a lot of the security built-in dashboards around CloudTrail, flow logs, S3 access log, console logins, NIST, CIS compliance, auth failures, all those sort of things you have to do for your compliance. And we look at our key risk touch points like API gateway endpoints that are public facing, VPN endpoints, and more importantly, our people, and our laptops and things like that. We use a lot of the CI/CD features, and we're bringing some more of those on now. So Bitbucket and SaaS, the guys already talked about how they're using it for CI/CD. We're just starting to use some of that, and Circle CI stuff. So that's really good. And we're running in 2-week sprints. So as I said, business features, a new feature that isn't working, we need to find it quickly. And sometimes in cloud, it can be really hard to find that stuff. So we're making sure that the features are right before they leave dev, and we're using Sumo Logic to do that. Why do we use it? Easy to use. Really easy. Really sorts the wood from the trees. If you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you can just search for an IP across everything and it will find you. It's really quick. We make use of custom dashboards. We make use of the provided app integrations and then take one of the dashboards out of that and customize it for our use. So there's lots of things we're doing as a small team that we wouldn't be able to do if we were using something like Splunk or Elk, because it would just take too long to integrate. Next slide, please. I think I've got 40 seconds left, hopefully not too long. Sumo Logic futures. We're using a lot of the beta tools at the moment, which I'm sure will be talked about on the roadmap, so I won't waste too much time talking about them. I think the future is really exciting on what's coming there. We're trying to build more business features into the product, so we're getting involved with the business and asking them what they want to see and making use of it for the whole stack. So KPIs, that sort of monitoring is coming. We are also doing a lot of the observability betas, and they are very good. And then we've got global intelligence for CloudTrail coming, which we're actually starting to look at tomorrow. And then we're really excited about the open tracing and the that sort of continuous intelligence platform that's coming as well later on. And obviously when we grow bigger, we'll be using Cloud Seam to really look at multi-region and any automation and skills issues we have, because it can save a lot on resources. Thank you very much for your time. Any questions, you can ping me on Slack via the Sumo channel, or any questions, just put in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that. Yeah, we could see you on video, so video is working now, and I'm on video as well now, so you can see me. So thanks again, Andy. Takeaways there. It's been good to be on that journey with you from a startup in stealth mode, essentially, right the way from the early days through to now launch, and then hopefully we continue to build that partnership as we go forward, and wish you much success in that platform. So thanks for participating today, and good to see how you're using Sumo across not just dev but security. You're a man of many hats, so yes. doing lots with little. So
I look so old, Iain.
You and me both. You and me both. Great. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So our next speakers are Markus HIrschkopf and Michael Needham from Prosus, and now we're going to hear how Michael and Markus are using Sumo. You've heard how Sumo has been used in the DevOps and DevSecOps, and now we're going to focus a little bit more on the Sec side of things and the SOC side of things, but also then with a touch of Dev as well. So I think that's enough alphabet soup for now. I'll hand over to Markus and to Michael.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Markus HIrschkopf. I will be starting. I will very briefly introduce our company, and our pictures are on the next slide, so you get to see Michael and myself. I'm the head of corporate team. Michael is in my team, and he's our enterprise architect. Prosus is a global consumer internet group and is one of the largest technology investors in the world. We're listed since September 2019 on the Amsterdam Stock Exchange, and we are focusing mainly in the payments and fintech areas, classifieds, food delivery, and education. I'm happy to tell you much more about Prosus and us in a personal chat, but due to the limited time, I will now focus more on the challenges, and then Michael will present the answers to our challenges. So we had some time ago, about 2.5 years ago, the challenges of reorganizing the whole group, because we had some divestments going on. And in the past, our IT systems were all spread out through the different companies. So there was not one Prosus IT. So this gave us also a little bit of a clean slate, and we could start from scratch and have a white sheet of paper where we started planning. So we clearly said SaaS and cloud first approach. And we are now serving multiple group members with IT services, mainly internally focused. And one of the biggest challenges we had was we had the need for old-fashioned infrastructure and application logs that came from on-premise data centers that were still around when we took them over, satisfying audit needs, especially in the financial area, PCI audits and some other audits. And all that is fine, but that's just really some hygiene factors that every IT department should have in place, I think. So what we really wanted is we wanted to know what's happening in our system at every given point in time. And I wanted it to be easy to digest, so dashboards. So we were looking for dashboarding. We were looking for a cloud native product and something that we could use for forensic work and has a really competitive pricing and would be open for us to build on more and more. So Iain already mentioned that we are also looking into SOC, and so we are using Sumo Logic for many more things than just fetching some logs. And we found in Sumo Logic really a great product, but more important to us, as we are also a small team, we found a long-term partnership with a partner we can rely on. And having said this, I would hand over to Michael to show you what we have done, because I think that's way more interesting. There's some really good stuff coming up, I hope.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. Next slide, please. As Markus explained, we were pretty much given green fields to also redevelop our entire IT landscape from a corporate IT perspective. I myself and Markus drew up a high-level architecture view, something similar to what you're seeing on the screen now, where with the organization's focus shifting towards internet businesses, and decided that we also need to then shift our focus to more internet-facing activities. Adding the fact that we have a user base focused across the globe, sitting in different continents, the old traditional setup for IT data centers on premise made this a very difficult proposition. We decided that the simple solution was to ensure that as long as a user have internet access, they should be able to connect to the resources in a secure manner, no matter where they are. This means from an architecture perspective, as Markus mentioned, that we focus on SaaS solutions. If there's an issue where a SaaS solution won't meet the requirements, we then look at PaaS, and finally infrastructure as a service. And then based on the application that we use, we've made our environment with our identity management solution, our cloud access brokers, our environment, so to speak, as agnostic as possible. So even though we have an Azure environment, and due to the nature of our business, you can have an AWS environment as well. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. That being said, our biggest challenge was going from a traditional setup where we had a on-premise SIEM collectors, we had multiple collectors sending data to people. Our biggest issue was visibility. As some of the other participants mentioned earlier, we needed to find a service that would give us access and visibility to our own logs instead of just shipping them off to a SOC provider or another SIEM solution. Along with that visibility, we also wanted to look at operational management to help improve our infrastructure, making sure we see what's happening within the environments. And lastly, also to avoid soccer lines, so to speak. So based on that, we implemented Sumo as our gatekeeper, so to speak, for all our logs, coming from our data centers, our firewalls, our office locations, our cloud solutions, even logs coming from people's machines, and then shipping off logs only as needed based on the risk profile that has been agreed upon to a specific SOC solution. In the end, we ended up with a solution. Next slide, please. Where, as mentioned, Sumo Logic is now our complete gatekeeper for everything. Based on our requirements of the SOC, there are certain risk items that we want to address. Then we have the ability now to basically create our dashboards in Sumo Logic, which gives Markus the view that he needs to view what's going on in the environment. If somebody has questions, he can show these things to him. But from a threat intelligence perspective, from a security perspective, we then send logs that we need to our SOC provider, and then they go through and do the alerting for us, look at this threat intelligence behind it. And if needed, we have other organizations within the group that also makes use of our identity management solution. If they need to have visibility of people using that kind of information, we have the ability now to also feed them exactly their information instead of having to try and ship everything from Okta or from our identity management solution onto directly to their SOC solution or SIEM solution. Next slide, please. That being the case, because we chose Sumo Logic as our vendor of choice, because of our SaaS first approach, it should be pointed out that they're not limited to SaaS only applications. As an example here, on the dashboarding itself, we've got our Cisco Meraki equipment, which is an office-based solution, which ships all these logs that we can see what traffic is leaving that network because of our solution. All our offices now are basically just internet-facing offices. So at least then we can have visibility of what's happening at the office, who's connecting to what sites are being visited. This then also then allows us the possibility, which we haven't done yet. This solution was finished I think about a week before we all had to move from a work from home environment, where we want to then start looking at use cases for threat intelligence based on known threat URLs, threat actors, and then start alerting on those capabilities. With the data going to our various SOC and SOC providers, we then also have the ability where they respond back with where we see the normal use cases around the impossible journey, logging in from 2 devices at the same time. We see failed login attempts on people's devices itself from failed passwords or failed login attempts. And at this moment, we've got many more. We see firewall connectivity drops, which we pump into Sumo Logic and on towards to our SOC. I'm hoping that with a future view of including the JSOC services from Sumo Logic, but it's something we need to investigate, and it's something I'm definitely excited about because at least it takes a bit of the data strain away from people. But other than that, as it stands now, we are quite happy with Sumo. It's easy to integrate, it's easy to use. Yeah, I've got nothing else.
Thanks, Michael. I really appreciate you joining and taking us through that architecture. It's very interesting to me, security, something that's close to my heart, having spent many years in security, but my takeaway from that presentation was that you're using Sumo in providing essentially complete observability across security intelligence as well as operational intelligence as well. So it's good to see that a customer using the platform rather than, dare I say, separate tools. This is one platform, and rather than using different components to solve the problem. So it's good to see that you are using it as that platform. I've got some questions for you, which I'll hold actually. So I'll come back to those later on during the Q&A session, and then I'll pick up on those. So thanks again, Michael. Move to our next speaker now. So Bruno is on, so we'll change the agenda around a little bit because Bruno's managed to join. He had a clash with a customer presentation, but Bruno's on. So Bruno's going to take us now through the roadmap, which I'm sure is going to be of interest to most, if not all of you on the call. So Bruno.
Excellent. Thank you, Iain. Thanks everybody for joining. I hope everybody's doing well. What a crazy time we live in right now, huh? So I would love to spend a little bit of time sharing our roadmap with you. And, obviously, we would love your feedback at some point afterwards. If you guys are interested in providing more feedback on our roadmap or have questions about specific topics, reach out to our team and they will make sure that they connect you to the right people in our organization to both get that feedback and provide more details around the roadmap. So next slide, please. So obligatory, we have to talk about the safe harbor statement, right? Everything we put on these slides, we try to achieve, but we don't always succeed and timelines change. But basically, wanted to just stop here for a second. If you go to the next slide, please. The way that we think about our service is depicted here. Our customers use Sumo Logic for a variety of use cases. Early on in 2010, we started by helping our customers essentially manage, operate, and troubleshoot their mission-critical applications, which today sort of equals to our operational intelligence product group. This whole thing is then expanded into security intelligence, and we'll talk about a little bit, you know, what's on the roadmap there. And we also heard from some customers who are using both of these parts of the product. And we also have lots of customers who are leveraging Sumo Logic for agile business intelligence, you know, from their production applications. It is kind of amazing how today in the world of digital, the telemetry coming off of the production services conveys so much business relevant information that you can't run your business without it. And we at Sumo do this ourselves, and I'm happy to talk about that at some point in the future. These products are built on top of a cloud native platform. That's sort of the heavy lifting of getting all of the data, integrating all of the telemetry, whether it be metrics, logs, traces, metadata, events. It is built on a multi-tenant scalable platform that has been, you know, a lot of work that has been put into making sure that we have a flexible and transparent licensing model that ultimately delivers to our customers the best ROI for what they use. And the whole thing is designed from the get-go, from 2010, to leverage the security first principle, meaning we take this data really seriously. We invest heavily into our backend security. Many of you are in sensitive industries and know from us how much time and effort we spend on making sure the data is secure and compliant. And we invest millions of dollars into our own certifications, attestations, security audits, and things like that, so that you guys don't have to write. And on top of that, obviously, you know, we leverage industry insight, community insight, data science insights through the lens of what we call a global intelligence service, which essentially leverages the data from underneath our platform, all of this telemetry, to find insights that improve the outcomes for, you know, DevOps, SREs, IT operations professionals for operational intelligence, security professionals for security intelligence, and business intelligence professionals as well. And so that's how we think of our platform, and we organize all of our work inside of Sumo to delivering capabilities on top of our platform to power these product lines. You go to the next slide, please. Every time I go to a customer, we end up spending 3/4 of our time on our roadmap discussing what is already in the product. We deliver quite a few things, and continuously. We are an agile development shop, as you guys know, and so we constantly ship new products and features into our platform. And because of the nature of our platform, this is not a platform that you know, necessarily, you know, you spend a lot of time exploring things, right? You get into our platform when you're, you know, fixing broken things or chasing security issues and things like that. We like to spend a little bit of time sharing with our customers what are the most recent deliverables that we have delivered on, so that you guys know and can start adopting them in case you were not aware of what was available already, not just what is coming in the future. To touch on all of these areas, on the operational intelligence side, in that product category, we've actually delivered quite a bit in the last few months, and this is all like 6 to 9 months prior to today. One of the big things that, for those of you guys who are shifting your architectures and starting to adopt technologies like Kubernetes and microservices and so on, is that we've shipped a unified Kubernetes solution, which really changes the way that our product works and our system works, in a way that it delivers to our customers all of its telemetry, all of the telemetry from the Kubernetes platform, integrated with its metadata in real time, discovered by the system, leveraging open source componentry that our customers use, like Prometheus, FluentD, and FluentBit, and others, deployed very easily into the environment, and then provides you with a whole new navigation interface inside Sumo Logic for your hierarchy, right? And this is a foundational technology we built, which is going to be extended into other areas of the product. But if you leverage Kubernetes, you will see basically that after the system collects the data, it dynamically builds the entire hierarchy of your application inside of our UI, and allows you, instead of navigating through our library or trying to sort of stitch your own workflow. It simply allows you to sort of navigate all the way from your clusters down to your pods and containers, and allows you to actually click through and go into relevant areas of that platform with clicks or buttons instead of queries or searches. So that's a very important move we made, and you're going to see that now materialize itself in the future in other parts of our product as well. We delivered a lot of other things related to monitoring and troubleshooting. We also delivered a lot of applications that help you guys manage specific componentry that you might use, either in pre-production process like CI/CD process, like things like Jenkins and Circle CI Spinnaker, or components of your applications themselves, like IaaS services, Azure services, whatever they might be. One big thing that was announced a couple of months ago is our software delivery intelligence solution for Atlassian, which is a really big deal for our customers who spend a lot of time managing their software delivery pipelines. And this specific solution was built around the Atlassian suite of products, which actually leverages Google's methodology and the DORA metrics to give you a sense of how well is your product development team delivering, where are their issues, where are their failures, how do you optimize? Because today in digital, as you know, speed of innovation is everything, right? The companies that innovate faster, they are the ones who dominate their industries, and this solution is designed around helping you build a better software delivery pipeline. On the security intelligence side, lots of new apps. As you know, we acquired a cloud SIM company called JASK. It is now integrated and available in Sumo. We call this product Cloud SIM Enterprise. It is a flagship security capability from Sumo Logic that builds on top of our platform. I'll talk about the roadmap of that in a couple of minutes. And that is a major advancement in innovation for those of you who are in security, and even for those of you who are not in security, but know that your security teams are starting to want to look at the data that your modern applications are generating. This is probably a conversation to be had. On the real sort of high-end innovation front, global intelligence, we spent a lot of efforts there delivering global benchmarks that allow you to look at your own events, your own behavior, threats, things like that, in context of global threats, right? So the system in global intelligence for GuardDuty and global intelligence for AWS CloudTrail, both of them are security focused today. There's a roadmap item for operational visibility for those as well. But on the security side, allows you to really understand, hey, is my threat profile in my AWS account different than what it should be? Is it different than what many other customers are experiencing in Amazon? Do I have rare threats that appear in my account that I'm not even aware are rare, but are really extremely rare or rarely seen anywhere else, right? Things like that, things that you couldn't otherwise do with rules or queries, right? Things that give you the global context of security posture in the wide world, and then allow you to compare yourself in real time to that state. And then on the platform side, lots of innovation there, lots of new things. I'll mention just a couple. We introduced a new data enrichment capability for logs, which means that we can now allow you to create custom fields, custom metadata into logs, and then treat those just like our sort of built-in metadata sets. And the last one that I'll mention here is the infrequent analytics tier, which is a major disruptive innovation for economical management and analysis of logs. It allows you to store your data in a tier that is not provisioned ahead of time, but is used for infrequent analysis, which dramatically reduces the cost of managing certain types of logs that are not used for sort of mission critical production monitoring. And it can change the economics of your data quite a bit. So that's it on sort of what we have delivered. If there's anything in here that you're interested in or want to learn more about, please reach out to your account team, and they will send you more collaterals or help you understand how to deploy it. Go to the next slide, please. So just two more slides. I'm going to focus on operational intelligence and security intelligence. So on the operational intelligence, this is now the roadmap slide. Now we're getting into what's coming, not what's already there. On the On the infrastructure side, sort of when I say operational intelligence, our focus here it really is on end-to-end observability of applications and infrastructure. And when we think about observability, to us that means, collecting telemetry generated by all infrastructure applications of all types, things like logs, metrics, traces, metadata, events, all of that, making sense of it all in a single backend that connects them all together in order to accelerate your ability to go from a signal, something's wrong in your app, to a resolution, meaning you've gone from something's wrong to understanding what is wrong, to figuring out how to fix it, to actually fixing it. So our goal is to shorten that time and enable you the workflow and the technology that allows you to get there much, much faster, right? On the infrastructure side, in the Kubernetes ecosystem, which is still sort of one of the focus areas of our development, post our delivery of Kubernetes solution, we're focusing on things like OpenShift cluster support. For many of our customers, don't just use their own managed Kubernetes or cloud versions of that like EKS or GKE. They also use OpenShift, and they're interested in leveraging Sumo Logic for managing those OpenShift clusters. We're also investing into deeper visibility through various technologies that are part of the Kubernetes ecosystem, like etcd and Core DNS. We're also integrating with sort of the surrounding technologies that help customers manage and basically elevate the concepts of services into service meshes like Istio from Google, or open source from Google and others. And we're also delivering, what we're really excited about is the global intelligence for Kubernetes, which basically will allow us to give you telemetry and benchmark and say, look, here's what your Kubernetes cluster is doing. Here's how your pods are utilizing, the resources. Here's the latencies you're getting. Here's the error rates and response rates. And here what an expected cluster or Kubernetes cluster might look like. You might expect that this is the right set of utilization metrics and and error rates and things like that. You are very different than that. Why is that? Is there a problem on your side? Is it expected? So it gives you essentially this intelligence to allow you to tune your application for better performance, better availability, and lower cost. On the application side, we're investing heavily into expanding our application footprint, meaning investing into giving you deeper visibility into the Kubernetes-based application by allowing you to look inside the container, inside the pods, connecting to the services, getting metrics out of those services from those components that you use inside of your applications, to continue to expand upon our monitoring capabilities. I mentioned the customizable topology. The Kubernetes navigation that we delivered in our solution is going to become customizable. You'll be able to essentially say, no, I don't want to look at this in the Kubernetes hierarchy. I want to build my own custom application topology and deliver that to my users so they can navigate it the way that we think of our application. We're also going to deliver this in our AWS solution, customized for AWS and things like that. And then ultimately, we are going to be improving our alerting, unifying that, and delivering what we think is the kind of the future of how people manage their availability and reliability through the Google's published prescribed methodology of SLI, SLOs. So service level indicators, the service level objectives are going to start becoming a first-class citizens inside Sumo Logic's as a concept, so that you can actually, create error budgets, set your service level objectives, monitor against those objectives, and then basically go from there all the way down into the componentry. Okay, so that's on the sort of app and monitoring side. On the transaction tracing side, or tracing side, for many of you who know that space, we're investing into delivering our first tracing solution. Our tracing solution today is in a private beta at this stage. It is being actually tested and used by several of our customers. The tracing solution that is going to be delivered and fully integrated into the rest of this operational intelligence product suite is going to be first based on open telemetry, so that you'll be able to leverage the open standard and leverage that in your infrastructure, leverage the components available in the community to integrate and work with the Sumo Logic tracing capabilities. We're going to start by delivering to you guys a transaction level troubleshooting that'll allow you to navigate transactions navigate spans, understand where the errors are occurring, the latencies in those transaction steps, and so on. We're going to then deliver service maps, essentially interrogating microservices through those traces to understand what does your application look like, and then ultimately enabling you to do service level end-to-end monitoring. So look for that. We are really excited about this, and many of our customers are interested in leveraging it and trying it. Next slide, please. Previous slide. Yeah, thank you. So last but not least, heavy investment into our security capabilities. As you know, we've been investing into our security capabilities through both organic development and acquisitions over the last, 10 years. We made actually probably most acquisitions in this area, and we've invested heavily in this area as well. The biggest move that we've made in the security space was the acquisition of a company called JASK. We're very excited to be able to complete that tail end of last year. And that product is available to our customers today. However, as we are integrating these two technologies, the benefit of us acquiring JASK was that it was a completely complementary security technology that basically complemented our platform capabilities for security and compliance, and then adds advanced analytics, alerting, triage, correlation to our platform, then combining it into what we call Cloud SIEM Enterprise on top of our continuous intelligence platform. As we're combining those, and that technology was architected in the same way that Sumo Logic platform was. It was an AWS-based microservices, highly scalable, highly available application, which was great because then we were able to just snap that into our platform. And we're now stitching those capabilities together at a deeper level to provide you, our users, a better user experience end-to-end as you interface with the full stack of this product. And only a couple months into this, we were able to deliver a unified platform, and we're now tightening on the left side and sort of platform integration side. We're doing more and more work to just make that more and more seamless. On the more exciting and interesting side of this is we're actually investing into better detection enhancements and better investigation and response automation on the part of the Cloud SIEM Enterprise. So our rules engine is continuing to get new improvements in terms of what kind of rules you can build, the type of rules you can build, the experience of building those rules, such as being able to prototype a rule and understand how the rule will actually run once you push it into production, to give you a better way of testing those rules and running those rules before you actually start turning them on real data. We're going to continue to deepen the number of signals that are essentially flowing into the Cloud SIEM Enterprise, like, for example, being able to fire alerts from the cloud for Sumo Logic platform. For those of you who are using Sumo Logic platform for security, you'll be able to send all of the alerts that you have today inside the platform that you configured for your rules, flow into Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM Enterprise, and be basically part of the signal of that advanced security analytics capability that we've built. And that includes things like global intelligence violations, like if we detect a rare rule using global intelligence service, or rare threat in your environment based on our global intelligence capability, that will flow into Cloud SIEM Enterprise, trigger a set of rules, allow you to then go into what's the last column in here, which is the ability to continue to investigate. So the Cloud SIEM Enterprise allows you to not just fire alerts, but also triage alerts. One of the big benefits of this technology is that it doesn't just force you to look at all of the alerts, because there's an alert fatigue right now, right? And the triage system, it runs algorithms on top of the alerts, tries to figure out which alerts are related to each other, which make up incidents and insights, and then feeds to your end users these insights that are much more relevant and useful to investigate. And as we do that, we are continuing to expand the ability to drill down all the way from those insights down to the raw data in Sumo Logic platforms, improving the workflows for the SOC analysts to be able to do this faster, providing better reporting and better response automation, moving in the area of sort of being able to solve the security issues in an automated fashion, in a SOAR-like fashion, rather than having you to do things manually, right? Through integrations and actual automation inside of the Sumo platform that will execute after an alert and insight has been triggered. So those are the sort of the roadmap items for security intelligence and operational intelligence. I think that's all I had to share with you guys today, but I'm excited to come see you again. I spent a lot of time in Europe, and as soon as we are allowed to fly safely, I'll be back and come visit you at your offices and hopefully maybe do one of these in person. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruno. Appreciate that. Appreciate you participating. Sorry you couldn't be here in person, and yeah, sorry you couldn't do the whole presentation in person as well. But we now reach the end of the sessions, and we're now moving to the Q&A. I don't have or see any questions in the chat, so I'm not sure if anybody's got any questions. But I mean, I'd like to kick it off, and I do have a question from Michael, actually, from your presentation in terms of your architectural slides that you put up there, where you're feeding in your logs into Sumo, and then from Sumo they go into your SOC. And you mentioned that you had multiple SOCs that you fed into, and then from there, your end users like PayU could then get access to that data from then the third-party SOC. My question is that, do you feed from Sumo into more than one third-party SOC, or is that into one third-party SOC, and then the visibility then into your end users, as it were? So PayU. Just interested in that part of the architecture.
So because of the way we set up this, the way that the logs travel, we can feed into multiple. At the moment, we feed into 2. And with our endpoint management or endpoint threat intelligence tool that we're deploying, we have a third SOC basically that will be coming into play, and then we'll be feeding just that specific information up to those guys. But everything gets correlated inside Sumo Logic.
So from Sumo Logic and then goes into the SOC, and the SOC then are third-party organizations that then analyze that data as it comes in,
Yes.
Pre-correlated then?
Based on our playbooks, our risks. So we feed them based on, this is the risk we have. What data do you need to adequately be able to give us a threat intelligence based on that risk that we have? And then we send them all that specific information, and then they look at it, they do things to it, they send us back alerts if something happens based on incident response playbooks and these kind of things. As well as just from a visibility perspective, we have, as an example, feeding from Sumo Logic to an on-premise Splunk environment. So the guys can, because they use our identity management solution to sign into their production environment, but they don't get the feeds from our identity management solution. So we feed that, and that gives them then the 360 view of a user's access and when they log into the system.
Oh, very, very good, very interesting. Do you ever, another question on from that though, do you ever see then from the logs that you send maybe into, say, SOC 1, SOC 2, as an example, different results coming back from those analysts in the SOC, analyzing fundamentally the same correlated logs?
So normally, because depends on what that SOC has been hired to do, we don't necessarily need to send the same logs to everybody. We just send what we need to send to meet the requirements they have to report adequately on any risk we might have. But it depends on their capabilities. So I expect somebody from our endpoint protection side to be able to identify threat intel cases quicker than somebody that just comes from a SOC environment, because they might see the threat as alerted to by based on their own internal use cases for their application, to be able to identify this is an issue, have a look at this. On the SOC exchange, they don't necessarily have those experts on their side.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Well, I'm not sure, I don't think you guys have explored the CSE capability yet with the JASK acquisition that Bruno just touched on. So look forward to
something we're looking forward to have a look at. Yeah,
absolutely. So definitely want to show that to you and walk through. Yeah.
Hello, Ian. It's Colin here.
Hi, Colin.
never been so quiet for a long time, so that's good for me. So I have another question for Andy. A couple of things. I think most apologies for before we had a Zoom issue, but most panelists have the video now. The other thing is that it's your time. We have a few more minutes to ask those questions on the Q&A, or you can do it and unmute and ask the question. But Andy, and thanks to all our presenters, from Bruno to Ramin and our customers. Andy, you mentioned something in your presentation that caught my eye, because we're seeing this in certain customers, is feature build checks. Checks, really as you build and deploy. I just wanted to know more about what you meant by that in terms of the application and how you're using data. Can you comment a bit more on what you're doing or what you're thinking? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, thanks, Colin. So we'll, as I mentioned in the presentation, we're trying to build everything with Terraform. Being honest, that's sometimes quite hard due to the timing. We tend to make sure it's there for test before it goes anywhere near prod. So dev sometimes we manually build, depending on if it's a new feature or if we've got a pattern for it. Obviously in Terraform, if you've got a module for it, then you're relatively confident that it's been through all your checks already, around security, logging, monitoring. So what we're trying to do is make sure those modules automatically send data to Sumo, as part of the Terraform and IAC pipeline. And then we can do things like, I'll be honest, we haven't done all of it yet. We're still integrating some of the CI/CD tools, and now we've got a few more people to help. So things like checking the pipeline in Circle CI's work by looking at the dashboards in Sumo, checking the Atlassian integration, making sure the commits are right and the pull requests are being done right and the checks and tests are being done right. So we're starting to do that. At the moment, we're using it a lot for IAM failures, or failures. It needs an extra permission that we weren't sure of that sometimes you get in Amazon. You've read the documentation and somewhere it's decided to use something else or a tweak to the rules needed. So we're using a lot for that.
It looks like you have multiple data sources. All data is not equal, but you're bringing it together, and you're solving different types of issues.
Exactly. So we've got, as I say, we've got all the data that we can, logs and metrics in Sumo. We've split the CloudWatch logs. We've split all applications right to CloudWatch logs, and they automatically get sent by Lambda to Sumo. So they're instantly available as soon as the pipelines are finished and the features are started to be used in dev. We can see and get that visibility of what's happening. And as I said earlier, sometimes there's so much data you're not sure where to look. You've got an auto-scaling ECS, service. You've got Lambda firing 4,000 times a second. You've got to sometimes just search the lot and then narrow it down. And I think we tend to find, not so much now, we tend to find we've done that quite a lot before.
That's great, Andy. I appreciate all the hard work that you've done. I'm just going to take one more question to Pascal, and then I'm going to leave it open. Pascal, again, similar to the DevOps side and working with Roche, providing support for some very critical applications. But can I ask you also is how have you ensured that these technologies and solutions are being utilized and are delivering value? Is there a culture change in how people operate and how people come together? Was that something early on, or are people just loving new stuff and innovation?
I guess it depends really where in Roche we are. I would say we try to push from my team, from the DevOps team, that we follow some cultures like everything should be code, should be tested. We should have pipelines for everything. I mean, also we do the role model here. But yeah, there's not an end-to-end culture, because also Roche itself is so big and we are only one department. also we learned, or Roche learned, that it's important to have also, I mean, in the past maybe a release once per half year was more than fine for instruments, but also I guess now Roche is learning that also the time to market also counts here. And so one case was this COVID situation. I mean, yeah, it's super important to have a test from development to the instrument as fast as possible on the customer side. And I guess here Roche did a quite amazing job, which should also then open the role model for the future.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you on this use case. So that's me done. Does anybody have any questions? We've got our team on the line. People have dialed in. We're coming up to the hour, and we've got a few more minutes. So I'm going to push it out to the field and to the audience, yeah, to open your questions. Please ask. Bruno's still online. I'm sure there are questions about the roadmap. Please do. So.
Doesn't look like we have any questions, Colin, in the Q&A panel. So
yeah, so I think we're happy to close off. It's been a long day for many people. So I appreciate this time. So Iain, I think if you just want to close off.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Colin. It has been a long day for a lot of you that have been doing the Cert Jam as well. So probably been a long day anyway. With we're all tired and doing Zooms for the last 2.5 months. So really appreciate you joining today and leaning in. Thanks to our presenters, especially customers again, Pascal, Andy, Markus, and Michael, and also to Bruno and Ramin for joining us today as well. Hope you enjoyed the session, and look forward to meeting you all in person at some point. And this is the time where we would really break for go for a beer somewhere, but we can't. So hopefully you can go and open up a cool one from your own fridge and raise a glass, and look forward to meeting you and being able to do that in person at some point. So thanks again, and have a good evening and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.